Hi guys, it's Courtney Thornton, and I'm going to share with you the research that I found from the article that we were required to read this week. And this article is entitled Teacher Teams and Distributed Leadership, a study of group discourse and collaboration. This article is located in the Educational Administration Quarterly, Volume 43, Number 1, February 2007, on pages 67 through 100. It is written by J. Pardes Scribner, R. Keith Sawyer, um, Sheldon T. Watson, and Vicki Myers. So let's go ahead and discuss this article. The key words that we will be focusing on will be distributed leadership, teacher teams, school improvement, and discourse analysis. Okay, in this article, the authors were trying to determine how two collaborative professional leadership teams, or PLTs, it was a teacher or instructional PLT and the building PLT, how they contributed to the leadership in a large, comprehensive public high school in mid-sized Missouri community. They use convenient sampling because the administration and faculty's willingness to participate, the school's long history of teacher teams, a recent emphasis on explicit focus on professional learning communities, and the school's relatively close proximity to the researchers. Random sampling was used for the data, such as the audio tapes and the videotapes, to spot check and compare information from the two teams. So let's kind of go and discuss the setting. We're going to look at the school demographics. Okay, the high school is comprised of 1,600 students located in a small city district of 16,000 students. The racial composition of the school is about 83% white, 9% African American, 3% Hispanic, 3% Asian, and less than 1% Native American. Now, the teacher racial composition was not available for in this particular article. And so the researchers gave both teams the responsibility of improving their leadership through team collaboration. And we all know if we have been in a school setting, have been in any type of school position, collaboration is a must. So this article just tells us how teacher collaboration and building collaboration is different, but yet it is somewhat the same. So let's look at the building PLT's makeup and what they were required to do. They were to address the non-instructional functions of the school, such as develop new review and offer suggestions for the change in the school policies and practices for ensuring academic success of the students that were in danger of failing one or more subjects. Now, the instructional PLTs, which are a central component of the middle school paradigm, were organized by discipline, and they were to focus on how to teach cross-curricular subjects. They were also created so they could help identify and solve predefined problems and sometimes find solutions to indeterminate problems. They were developing goals, curricula, instructional strategies. Sometimes they were working with the budget as well as staff development to aid in their students achieving high levels. And let's go back to the building PLT. Let's look at how this building PLT group was made up. It consisted of 7 members and the coordinator of student support, the gifted education coordinator, 2 social studies teachers, neither of whom were on the instructional PLT, the director of special education, the director of guidance, and an outreach counselor. Each of these teachers had more than 25 years of experience in public education. The social worker, who was the designated team leader, had 13 years of experience working in the school context. It was not known how many years of professional work she or he had done prior to this study. Also, all the teachers in this group were white. 6 were female and 1 was male. Okay, we're going to go on to let's discuss the members of the instructional PLT. All right, these members consisted of 3 social studies and 3 English teachers, the respective department chairs, 2 advanced placement teachers, and a school guidance counselor that periodically joined the group. This team had the same makeup as the building PLT. They were all white except one male. Okay, now these teachers had experience that ranged from 2 to 10 years. The curricular focus for the teachers was modern American history and American literature. The building PLT had 10 meetings during this semester. These meetings were recorded on digital audio, and they averaged approximately 35 minutes in length. Now, once again, if we've been in the school setting, 35 minutes is not a lot of time for meetings. So that was pretty good for them. Hopefully that we can learn from this. Now, the instructional PLT had 8 meetings during the semester. These meetings averaged approximately 43 minutes in length and recorded on both digital, video, and audio tape. Most, but not all, of these meetings occurred after school. 2 of the meetings occurred on early release days, which lasted more than 1 hour. Now, during this research study, the researchers utilized the distributed leadership perspective, which is a conceptual and analytical approach to understanding how the work of leadership takes place among the people and in the context of a complex organization. I think we can all agree that a school can be considered a complex organization with several moving parts. The distributed leadership perspective is relatively new and has begun to influence the empirical studies of school leadership. In reference to this article, distributed leadership is a perspective that helps us understand how the 2 teachers' teams are embedded in an interactive network of independent school activities that collectively constitute leadership. Past research has shown that its only was on elementary schools. But this new approach wanted to show how well teachers communicated and worked together with each other for the betterment of a school in a secondary educational setting. Now, these researchers had 3 questions that guided their work. The first one was, what factors contribute or interfere with team decision making? The next one was, what discursive patterns are associated with leadership within teacher work teams? And the last one was, what organizational conditions foster or impede leadership within teacher work teams? The research determined that both situational and social aspects of distributed leadership were the foci of the investigation. Now let's look at the methods of this study. For this study, the qualitative study used constant comparative analysis and discourse analysis to explore leadership as a distributed phenomenon. Now, I just want to give a little clarification on the comparative analysis. But before I go to that, let's look at it. It says the data from the field notes and video recordings of 2 teacher teams were used during the entire semester. So let's go and let's see what comparative analysis means. Comparative analysis is an item by item comparison of 2 or more comparable alternative processes, products, qualifications, sets of data, systems, or the like. And discourse analysis, it is a general term for a number of approaches to analyze written, vocal, or sign language use or any mean making event. So basically, you are trying to make sense of the situation that you are researching. So let's look at what they found. The researchers learned 3 important things from the professional collaborative interaction within each learning team. They talked about purpose, autonomy, and patterns of discourse. Purpose and autonomy is strengthened when there is a clear support from one's group. The researchers argued that the nature of purpose and autonomy within a teacher team can influence the social distribution of leadership. All right, so then it went on, they wanted to know again how well a group of individuals work together in a professional setting. and how well they were able to find solutions for problems. Were they going to be creative leaders? And although it is not explicitly stated, the implications or the conclusions that can be drawn from the research stated that conceptualizing leadership in terms of interaction, needing to help teachers become aware of controversial dynamics that lead or subvert effective collaboration, and needing to help principals become more aware of their role in helping to establish clarity and purpose and appropriate levels of autonomy so that teams may engage in work that leads to effective and innovative problem solving and innovative problem finding and problem solving activities. The researchers identified two distinct patterns of discourse. It was passive discourse and active discourse. It was discovered that these two discourse patterns were related to the organizational context and the leadership effectiveness of the teams. In essence, it was found that the stronger the leader, then the stronger the team. It was also determined that leadership does not have to have a specific title. It is not just a formal role of principal, assistant principal, superintendent, or director, or anything like that. In this model, leadership is displayed in the behavior of the team members, the interaction of the teachers, the administrators, the parents, the students, and other stakeholders. Leadership is embedded in the relationship between the roles. Just as if you have a data team meeting and you have a role within that data team meeting, if you do your job, you are displaying leadership skills and qualities. All right, so then the article went on and talked about interdependencies. Um, and basically it's saying that is one thing dependent upon another. And there were three types of interdependencies that the article discussed. And it was pooled dependency, which each organizational department or business unit performs completely separate functions. It was also sequential, is dependence of subunits or subdivisions on information, material, products, or resources generated by those preceding them in a process. And it's also reciprocal. It is a cyclical situation where the input of one organizational division is regularly used as the input of another organizational division. It talks about that in the chapter in the book, and it says if one variable is dependent on another variable. Okay, so we're going to go on and let's look at the social distributed leadership. Now, as I was reading this article, it dawned on me that basically this is a good collaborative group. Not no one in the group made one decision. They all discussed about how to find a solution for whatever the situation was that they were dealing with. But it did show that one drawback of collaborative structures, such as the teaming, is the potential for the cultivation of groupthink and unduly convergent thinking, which basically means that if everybody in the group thinks exactly alike, then no new ideas can be generated because everybody thinks alike. So that was the only really drawback that I really saw. Um, However, because the outcomes of the socially distributed leadership cannot be predicted in advance, collaboration is a must, and so it should occur, and that so that effective problem solving can be done. All right, so let's talk about the methods of the data analysis. Random sampling was used for the audio and video tapes. They were basically chosen out of all of the tapes, and they were spot checked. The the researchers kind of wanted to see, are we talking about the same issues, or are we coming up with solutions that are similar, or things like that. These tapes were transcribed so they can have further research on what was being stated in the conversations. All right. So the researchers wanted to know if the data showed any disagreements between the team members and the type of leadership that was exerted on the team members to help solve the problem. It was proven that both inside and outside influences cause much communication among the teams. So, with that being said, we ended up looking at categories. The researchers found that the PLT purposes for the two case study teams fell into two distinct categories. And those categories were known problem solving and discovered problem finding. Now, in problem solving involves approaching a problem that everyone knows about and applying well-known procedures and techniques to resolve the problem. Basically saying, we know this keeps happening, but what are we going to do to fix it? And so in essence, this type of problem solving, it has a closed purpose. Now, problem finding is required when no one knows quite exactly sure how to frame the problem or what procedures would be involved in its solution. So basically, it's asking, why does this keep happening? And through this problem solving finding, let's look at what the instructional PLTs did as well as the building PLTs. The instructional PLTs had problem solving purpose. They knew what the problem was. They did not have a solution, but they were willing to find one. Their task, remember, it was to create cross-curricular instructional and assessment materials for team-taught social studies and English classes. Now, for the building PLT, its focus was a problem finding purpose. They were to determine why certain students were persistently failing or in danger of failing multiple classes and to make recommendations for changes to the school-wide intensive intervention program that should serve these students. So no one solution will work for one problem or all the problems. So because outside related events may be a part of this. So from this study, it also emerged that an understanding of collaborative interaction within each professional learning team consists of purpose, autonomy, and pattern of discourse. Purpose and autonomy were identified as organizational conditions. Why we teach and how we teach is based upon where we teach. Discourse is illustrated when the team had their own reasons for their individual problems. It was evident through their communication as to why the problems were and what other issues were part of the problem. Now, as we're looking at PLT autonomy and a collaboration, all the groups dealt with constraints. However, the usage of the appropriate constraints helped them remain focused on their closed purpose. The instructional PLT made only occasional reference to the organization's constraints, such as the department chairs, particular students, technological concerns, or scheduling issues. Their conversation remained focused on their problem-solving task. By remaining focused on their task and their well-defined problems that they face, the instructional PLT's autonomy was restricted. Therefore, creative solutions did not emerge. The recommendations that they made had to go through a series of individuals to be approved. Therefore, it slowed down the group's growth and kind of made them feel as if, well, if I make a recommendation, is it really worth it? Is it going to get done? Those types of questions came about. Now, for the building PLT, unfortunately, they received inadequate information. The team members needed to know more to participate effectively in the problem finding collaborative process. Because their level of information was inadequate, each new piece of information led to more questions. The cumulative effect of this pattern of discourse is lack of substantial action. A great deal of time and energy was spent on problem identification and re-identification. So basically, there was a lot of talk, but not a lot of action. Then it goes on and it talks about comparison of the two groups. This was revealed that the building PLT engaged in patterns of passive discourse, where the instructional PLTs engaged in active discourse. The findings were consistent with other research efforts suggesting that organizational conditions influence team performance. The group's understanding of its purpose instructional improvement, and its autonomy, its independence from other instructional PLTs, facilitated its ability to pose problems and issues and develop solutions. A critical perspective on collaborative collaboration suggests that teamwork can function to limit divergent thinking. Divergent thinking is, of course, a hallmark of creativity and innovation. So, in conclusion, it was found that the groups demonstrated serious commitments to the pursuit of creative solutions for the issues that took priority in the school. Unfortunately, organizational conditions limited them in finding the good solutions. The obstacles of the building PLT were not placed there intentionally, but it was believed to have been a manifestation of the long-standing cultural patterns on the way that the school typically operated. However, both teams provided examples of how distributed leadership is a complex phenomenon and can just as easily be associated with the negative qualities of organizations as it can be associated with the positive qualities. Collaboration does not necessarily equate with workers becoming more creative and innovative. In fact, the opposite can occur if the right leader is not in place. Researchers found that the line between organizational support and surveillance is quite thin. Clarifying this distinction with a critical eye should be one of the areas of future research. Leadership is a complex social phenomenon manifested in many ways. No longer can leadership be looked at as a title exclusively associated with specific roles, position, or behavior traits. The leadership of a team influences the group's thought decisions when searching for solutions for a problem. And lastly, processes of interaction are a key means of understanding the relationship between the forms of leadership. The study of interaction represents a new frontier in our understanding of what leadership is, how it develops, and how we can foster it. Okay, well, that is my video for the week. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you for listening and watching, and I hope you all have a great evening.